Now, hello and welcome back to another video, my friends. If any of you, by the way, composite laminators or trimmers are watching this video, or any people from within the Formula One industry, I am sending out my greetings. I've had a bit of a feedback and a few messages after the previous video that I've put out about the industry. So, yeah, coming right back at you, saying hellos. Anyway, if you don't know, I am a Formula One composite laminator, and or you could just say composite laminator, carbon fiber laminator, what have you. Do you know what I mean? Hell of a lot of people don't actually really know what this job consists of. And I very often, when I do contracts abroad in Europe, Germany, Czech Republic, I have hell of a people being very confused about what I actually do for work, and me trying to explain it to them, unless they move around in the circles or in the motorsport industry. It seems to be very difficult to try and break it down to people what I actually do. And very often I'm met with just confused gazes back at me. So yeah, in this video, I'm going to shine a bit of light into how I essentially got into a Formula One team, and how you can get into Formula One team, and what you should do and what you shouldn't do to try and get into Formula One team, and how yeah, nowadays networking is an extremely important skill to have. So how do Formula One teams operate? Okay. And this all depends on which sort of position you're trying to get into the Formula One team with, or what sort of profession you're trying to break into the industry with. Obviously, as I've mentioned, when it comes to me, I am a composite laminator, which is quite a common position in Formula One. And every single one of the Formula One teams have their own composite laminator team, whether that's a hell of a lot of team now opt out for contractors and going for essentially freelancers, all right, and free party sort of thing, rather than actually having a hell of a lot of their own laminators in-house, which they used to back in the day. Now they try and sort of outsource most of that for various obvious business reasons, obviously, which is looking at how this all runs, it's completely understandable. Do you know what I mean? Because as it is, most of the composite laminator contractors in the industry essentially treat the businesses the same way as the businesses treat them, and it's a business to business sort of connection, right? And a hell of a lot of Formula One now actually works like that. A hell of a lot of stuff is outsourced, and a hell of a lot of stuff is third-party contractors essentially being contracted by the F1 teams through agencies, or back in the day it used to be directly as well. Now, essentially, everything has turned into IR35, which basically means that, yeah, these massive agencies and corporations work with Formula One teams, etc., to try and get people in, basically, which is beneficial for all parties, essentially, in the long run, if you think about it. Now, yes, whilst there is still many opportunities of getting into F1 directly and being employed directly by a Formula One team, when you're also a contractor, you open yourself up a hell of a lot of doors as well, if you think about it, because obviously getting one foot into the door as a contractor and doing a long-term contract for a Formula One team build you up that reputation sort of thing, if you know what I mean. I mean, obviously there's you've got various different types of contractors, and it all depends on what kind of contractor you are. If you actually care about your job and want to be the best possibly that you can at your job and remain professional and just deal with the business on the business terms, or yeah, if you just want to essentially earn money and do what you want to do. Because believe it or not, there's a hell of a lot of people at Formula One teams who don't actually watch Formula One or aren't really that interested in the sport. I think you'd be very surprised to hear that. I think a hell of a lot of people think that Formula One employees, most of them are obsessed about their job or about the sport itself, but for a hell of a lot of them, it is just a job. And whilst they try and be as best as they can at it, it is just a job, and I don't see it any differently. Just like for not all the professional footballers, football is a passion. For some of them, it's just a job. Do you know what I mean? For me personally, I'm extremely passionate about Formula One. I always have been, even long before I've worked in the industry. And not just Formula One, but even composite, carbon fiber. This is a long time before I was involved in all of that stuff. I've always been passionate and interested in the industry. So there's a slightly different outlook. I don't think having a university degree is going to get you too far ahead in the sort of field of work that I do, composite laminating / composite trimming. A lot of that is relied on experience. Do you know what I mean? A lot of that relies upon experience, the places you've been, Obviously, if you worked abroad in different countries, that helps. That brings up your CV, etc., all that sort of stuff. But for certain positions like designers, like probably aero, some of the engineers and mechanics, you probably do need a university degree, and it's probably worth researching the exact position and the exact placement that you're looking for, and seeing whether having a university degree or any sort of qualification is going to set you a little bit further ahead, rather than if you were coming into it as a fresh faced 18-year-old, etc. Now, a hell of a lot of these F1 teams, and how some of my friends or people that I know have got into Formula One, is apprenticeships, basically. Apprenticeships is something that a hell of a lot of Formula One teams, and not just Formula One, but a hell of a lot of motorsport industry actually invests in and puts a hell of a lot of money into, because it builds up loyalty from um, the youngsters trying to break into the industry, who have always been passionate about the industry. And what they essentially do nowadays is, essentially, instead of just having you being an apprentice in one position or one placement around a factory like R&D, or I don't know, aero or wind tunnel, they have you do various different positions in your placement for weeks or months on end, and whichever one you're best at, or whichever one you're the most passionate about or the most suitable to, that's what they try and pick you for. Do you know what I mean? So they try and cater to you as well as you cater to them, in a way where they try and play towards your strengths. Do you know what I mean? Now, Formula One industry, as you know, is huge, totally massive. And you would be surprised, but most of Formula One teams are actually running a 24/7 production, meaning you've got day shift, night shift, weekend shifts. You know, you've got people constantly working on these cars, on these pads, because you'd be very surprised. But, you know, in Formula One, it's not just you create the pads for the current car and for the potential damaged pads that may occur over the next few races. You're constantly creating ahead and ahead and ahead, and constantly developing your car. You're constantly producing pads, and yeah, it's a lot more than you would think. It's a lot more than you would think running two cars. Do you know what I mean? What I would recommend is you build up your CV as best as you can in terms of experience of being around these Formula One cars, or with a certain job or a certain profession that might be involved around these Formula One cars. Whether that's, for example, like I am, composite laminating, what might be valuable for you in that example, for example, if you're a carbon composite laminator, would be go to different countries, do contracting around different countries, do maybe try and do some supplier companies, because however a lot of Formula One composites are involved with supplier companies, not just Formula One. You'd be surprised how many supplier companies are, for example, in the UK, in Europe, etc., who create these pads that F1 subcontracts over to them, basically. So once you've got this sort of experience, coming into the F1 industry, you're not going to be out of your depth. Do you know what I mean? You're not going to be out of your depth. I think most of the time, you're going to feel comfortable with what you're doing. It's just a slightly different industry, different materials, different processes used, slightly different heat cycles, etc., and things which you wouldn't have been used to working in other industries. I mean, for example, working in the composite industry, the differences between Formula One grade carbon fiber and the materials used over there, and the road car, or for example aerospace carbon fiber and the materials used there, is massive. You know, when it comes to road car stuff, what you're worried about the most is the visuals and the looks of it, because whilst a lot of the road cars are going to be painted, some of them the customers choose to have exposed look carbon, and on those pads the most important things is having your herringbone, which is, you know, the little Christmas tree of the fibers of the twirl direction matching, and the fibers going in the same, how would I explain it, like a pointing arrow sort of direction, if you know what I mean, where you have the fiber to fiber, back to back sort of thing. And essentially about not distorting the carbon when you're laminating it, not pulling it apart too much, not having you know, gaps in the fiber and pulling apart the fibers, etc. Whereas when it comes to Formula One, obviously all of that still matters. You're still trying to make it as nice as possible, but rather than doing twill matching, back-to-back herringbones and stuff like that, what you'll be mostly focusing on is doing structural laminating. When it comes to stuff like dimensions and tolerances, they're a lot smaller and a lot less room for error in Formula One than there certainly is in many other industries. Because think about it, we're talking millimeters. Do you know what I mean? And some of the pads that you'll be working on, for example, you have to make sure that you are to the nearest possible millimeters. So if the car crashes and, for example, the nose or the rear wing or something breaks, it's designed to snap off. It's designed to break off in certain positions at those certain measurements which you've been given. So you need to be very careful of what you're doing, because you're not just essentially laminating to have as quick car as possible for your team, but you're also trying to keep your driver as safe as possible. Do you know what I mean? So you don't have to work just for a Formula One team. There's a hell of a lot of opportunities that I've took part in, essentially working abroad, doing contracts in nice sunny warm countries for long stretches of time over the summer. But working for a Formula One team, there's different perks and different things involved. You do definitely feel more as a part of a team, 100%, and you feel more involved on. It's nice, isn't it, when you can see the car on the track and you see the part that you've created and you worked on, and you can see it there being applied on track and being used and hopefully not crashed. It's a nice feeling, do you know what I mean, to see the work that you've essentially created with your hands, do you know what I mean, on track, which is something that you don't really get to see a lot when you work for these supplier companies or supplier teams or road car companies or aerospace carbon fiber suppliers, because usually it's private customers or big companies. Like I used to create pads a long time ago for Audi road cars. I'm not going to say which exact company, but that sort of stuff you wouldn't get to see on the road, because, do you know what I mean, every Audi road car's got carbon fibre on it, and you wouldn't really know which one of them that you've produced a part for. So obviously there's other perks involved, and like free gym memberships and dinners and things like that, which you might be able to get on site, which a hell of a lot of other industries, even in motorsport, don't provide, because they haven't got the budgets to be able to do that. You are under a constant watch, and rightfully so. I will say, once you sign that NDA and once you disclose that you're not going to share any private information, that's it, and you are held to that high regard. And equally, F1 teams should deal the same with you and your information. So it's quite a secure industry. Although you could say about the Spygate and hell of a lot of things that have happened in the past, that it's actually not true. By the way, for those of you that might know the little Spygate scandal between the McLaren and Ferrari back in the day, that was a very, very interesting case. A very interesting case. Let me know in the comments if you would want me to make some more Formula One scandal videos about what essentially happened from the perspective of someone from behind the scene with some of the previous teams in the past. Obviously, I can only talk about things that are public knowledge. But anyway, I hope you've enjoyed this short little video about how to get a job for a Formula One team and how to get into the Formula One team. As I've already said, just to break it down, try and gain as much experience as possible. Try and show off your skills and try and show off your passion for the sport as much as possible. Build up the networks, get to know people that work within the industry, ask them questions, see if they can move you along to closer to your goal, to your target. Because nowadays in this world, if you don't know people and if you don't know the right people, it's difficult to get in the right places for, I don't know, maybe there's just a lot of people. There's just a lot of people in the world right now, isn't it? And we're all looking for the same sort of opportunity, same sort of positions. It's high demand, man. It's high demand. So as I said, build up your connections, build up your network, build up your skills, and always constantly keep looking for these openings and opportunities for F1 teams, because trust me, they're always there, especially around, I will tell you right now, around the build season times, which is sort of around Christmas time to April, the beginning of next season, or the end of March, beginning of the next season. So yeah, from the end of the current season until the beginning of the next season, look out over the winter for opportunities. And if you are trying to get involved for a Formula One team, then send it across. Trying to stand out. Do you know what I mean? Standing out is one of the most difficult things nowadays, because yeah, it's just such a high demand. So many people applying and looking for the exact same thing. So try and be unique. Try and be yourself. And yeah, I guess that's my advice. If you would want to know more about this topic, let me know in the comment section below. If you're a composite laminator or a trimmer, as I already said, I'm sending my regards. Let me know in the comments below. I would love to know who we got watching these videos. And that's it, essentially. If you like the video, you can leave a like, you can subscribe. But I'm just not too bothered, man. I'm just enjoying doing this sort of content for you and conversating with you and sharing what I can share with you. And yeah, just enjoying life, innit? I mean, look at this field. It's lovely. It's lovely. And despite the fact that we're lacking sun right now, it's very warm. It's very nice. So Hope you've enjoyed this little video anyway, regardless. And yeah, I'll see you lot in the next one.